I've watched now. It's not bad. Kind of hard for me. I can't work while I'm watching you, but I could listen to the music, so that would be nice. But I could see how people would enjoy that to watch it. But are people? I mean, do you do what they ask? Like, if they give you feedback, go log in and raid or do this, that, and the other. I mean, do you actually do what they ask, or are you pretty?
Well, I try to, because that kind of runs under the borderline of, you know, you're trying to interact with your viewers and kind of do what they want you to do. But at the same time, it also has to be fun for me, you know, because I'm not going to go off and like I attempted to level a Warlock, which was a really bad idea because I play healers and I am so bad at DPSing. And I just don't enjoy it. And
Really?
I was doing it for a little
Everything I
bit.
can do.
And it's one of those things that once you lose interest, how do you keep people watching you? What is there interesting
I
to
don't
do
know.
if you're not having fun yourself? So you kind of have to balance do what they want, but at the same time you have to be having fun at the same time. Otherwise it's kind of like, what's the point? So I'm never playing my Warlock ever again. That's just
Oh, really? I like being Warlock. It's kind of fun. So I always like the sort of the idea of a Warlock. I always thought was kind of cool. But okay, so I thought DK123, you asked a really interesting question about. I presume it's a question you'd like me to ask. And I'll ask that question Sora next. That's a really good question as well. But about meeting people outside the game. It's interesting. It's a mixed bag. I mean, there definitely are some guilds that meet up a lot. Paragon's a good example of that. They meet up a lot. They're very tight-knit. And then you have a guild like Method, who has had one or two meetups, but not a lot. But they're also extremely tight-knit. So I don't think it necessarily means, you know, like you'll be better as a guild if you have lots of social gatherings.
uh-oh. She died. Oh, hang on.
Oh, I
Wait,
died.
you're back. You're good.
I'm back?
Okay.
Oh, I was like, died? No, it's too soon. So, no, I haven't finished my PhD yet. I'll die after that, I swear. So, no, but someone was asking, oh yeah, about meeting people outside the game. Like in Blood Legion, you guys meet up at BlizzCon, don't you? Some people have that.
Yeah, I
right?
haven't. I didn't have the opportunity to go to the previous BlizzCon because I just joined the guild and I didn't have the money and yada yada yada. But there's quite a few people that'll meet up within Blood Legion at BlizzCon, which I guess is good. I don't know that I would ever necessarily. I don't. It's really hard to say. You know, you kind of start hanging out with people that you play in game, and it kind of becomes a little bit more than just a game relationship or whatever, or somebody that you know, like Dexter and I meeting up, for example, at BlizzCon wouldn't end so well for either of us. More so me, I think, because we don't necessarily get along. I think it's an interesting aspect to the guild to meet up, but I don't know that really necessarily improves anything as far as rating. Maybe I'm crazy when I say that, but I don't know that it ever necessarily makes you more tight-knit if you actually meet up in real life, you know, because it's a very brief exposure to the person.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's nice, but I have to say, I mean, I've made friends with people 5-6 years ago that I still consider to be good friends, and I'm happy to hear from them, but I've never actually met them in real life. I think actually spending a lot of time online, and I have a very, good social circle in real life, and I've got friends that have nothing to do with gaming and they don't understand it, so I've got, I think, a fairly balanced life as far as social things go, but I don't consider my online friends to be too much different from my real world friends. I mean, I may not spend as much time with them doing the same kinds of things, but it's cool. I mean, I don't know. But I think it's not necessarily a requirement. I think it's nice if people can get together, but there's always going to be a few people who can't make the social gathering. They may feel excluded. So if you're going to kind of think that it'll make the guild better, there's usually other things going on if the guild's already in trouble that doesn't have anything to do with social. And a social gathering won't necessarily fix whatever issues there are. But I do know there's some guilds that they're not raiding guilds, but guilds that have been around for 10 plus years, and they just like to play games together. They still have social gatherings. I know one of my German friends has a guild where they have once or twice a year they meet up. There's a huge number of people, and they have like a camping trip all together, and they're just a really good group of friends, and they love to spend time together, and it's gone beyond just playing games. So that's
Right.
pretty cool. If you can find that, why not?
Yeah, I
So
mean, I think the biggest thing, at
the
least for
President
me,
of Soccer Galactica.
is it's kind of like when you throw in real world versus online. There's things that people will say online that they won't say in real life, or they'll behave differently online than they will real life. So it's kind of like, how do you handle a social gathering like that? I would probably freak out and not say anything. And I talk a lot when I'm on stream, but I don't know that I would necessarily do that in the same environment if I was actually face to face with other people. It's kind of it's a completely different atmosphere almost.
Yeah, exactly. Which I think is it's good, but yeah, it's a totally different experience. And things people have told me. I mean, I didn't mention that when you asked some of my best interviews, but some people have really shared some very private, very difficult things with me, which they've probably shared with other people as well. But yeah, I mean, you feel a little bit like that there's a bit of trust there, and it's a bit of a special relationship you can develop with people online, as long as you feel like you've got that that available, and people are kind of trustworthy. So, which I know is hard to still find and stuff. I was going to make a point here. I'm with Valiant on this, and I feel bad because he was very upset and told me privately that I didn't mention Method, and I wanted to make a point about Method really quickly, because things you guys type, I swear to God. Anyway, with Method, probably very classy guild, love those guys, but they didn't merge with anybody. It was if there's the way I look at mergers, by the way, my definition of a merger with guilds is if it's a bigger guild that takes in a smaller number of people, because I think a merger truly has to be like a 50-50 merge. If it's like a guild that's already standing and they take on 5 or 6 members from another guild, that's more of an absorption as opposed to a merge or a sort of a mass recruitment. So I don't know if that helps. And you want to know Horde or Alliance? I like them both for different reasons. So and you guys, let's see. Yes, the relationships you can have great relationships online. I'm a big believer in that. I'm just going through all the questions. Someone asked a very interesting question about why do a PhD in raiding? Like, what's the value? Oh, help me in the academic world. That's a good question, Sunny. That's how a PhD helps you in the academic world. It's not so much about the topic of raiding, it's more the way that you do your research, the methods you use, and the findings that you have. That's usually what makes you better at, at your academic life. So if you are going to be good at, if you're going to, for example, I could have chosen to research health or something else, and it would be more about how did I do it, what kind of approach did I take, how original is my research. So I think because gaming is so new, it's quite good to do original research, I think. Plus, we're an amazing community. We should be documented. So, Nature Core. Yes, I think it can be stacked against you. Depends on what you want to make your living out of in relation to gaming. Obviously, some guys are doing really well right now. You guys keep mentioning Towley. Some of the other guys do really, really well, but they're sort of 1 in a million, really. Just like some people go into acting and do really, really well, and they become the Brad Pitts of the world. But then, the vast majority of people in acting are probably still working as waiters in restaurants somewhere. So, it's going to be the same sort of mixed bag as far as making a living. But I think it's easier if you are a top-level elite raider. I think it's easier to get exposure, people more interested in you. So obviously that helps. It's sort of so if you really want to do well, make a living through gaming, I would recommend just work on your gaming skill and get better and better at it. And then find a little niche that you can sort of carve out for yourself and do something different. But you can do things like Affinity is doing an interesting job. He's an elite player, but he's also interested in sort of perhaps his voice and his radio career, so maybe he'll kind of go into sort of springboard into other areas, even though he's got exposure partly because of Blood Legion. I mean, would you say that's true, Affinity, that the reason that you do well is that you kind of have that connection?
Oh, I think it helps tremendously. I mean, it's not kind of an end-all be-all, but it's kind of like people see the names so they come. and then
Yeah.
they stay for various reasons. So I think
Yeah.
that the guild tag has definitely helped tremendously. I don't think I would have been able to start and kind of be where I'm at right now without the guild tag. It's pretty ridiculous just how much a top end guild tag can actually be, that significant of a difference.
Yeah. It really can, though. I mean, a lot of times I don't think... The reason I say I credit Paragon for helping me with my research was as soon as because they'd contact any old guild, they don't know me from anyone, and why would they care about some student in the UK trying to do research, They've got more important things to do, but I would drop Paragon, they'd actually probably stop for a second and go, okay, she's obviously legitimate, she's done something, and then it kind of, helped develop things for me, so it's, and you guys are doing it for Towley yourselves, by the way, right now. You keep talking about him, and you keep advertising him by talking about him, so it's sort of we do it to ourselves, basically, as a famous song says. So, we kind of develop our own kind of popularity, and then people think because everyone's talking about it there must be something to it, so we start to go to it, and the next thing you know it's become huge. So not to say he doesn't legitimately deserve that attention, but that's usually how these things also kind of build up. So Sora asked a very good question and excellent grammar, perfectly written, no typos, so I must answer this question. Where I'm at with my research, and then has the direction changed during my research? It absolutely has changed. When I first started, I thought I was going to do some massive study of all MMOs and do a comparison between MMOs and then earlier forms of MMOs like MUDs and things like that. And then I realized that was like a 73-year PhD, and they call them supervisors in the UK or academic advisors. They were kind of laughing at me. And then they sort of said, realize, you kind of have to shrink it down. The amount of data I've collected could probably be about 7 PhDs because I've just got a lot of data. But I kind of went overboard. I couldn't help myself. So, and it's easy in a game like World of Warcraft because there's lots of add-ons you can use to collect data and lots of ways to talk to people online. So it's a bit easier than doing. And it's not. People seem to like to talk about themselves more in gaming than say maybe I was going to talk to some vulnerable teenager about drug use. They may be a little bit less comfortable talking about that with me as a researcher, so maybe that's why it's been easier. But it did change in as much as probably focusing in a lot on what I'm doing, and I kind of mentioned that earlier on, so I don't want to bore you all with the details like I did earlier in the interview. But that's kind of what happened. It's sort of, I'd say it's just more honed in a little bit. And I'd say that as well, my vision kind of expanded within the world of raiding to realize that we are a raiding community, but we do things a little bit differently depending on where we're at within raiding. So I hope that answered the question. So I focus my hypothesis, yes. Very true. How many of you guys are students, by the way? Matthew, you do not.
Is this
Magnus
live?
Sounds Swedish.
No, it's a pre-recording. We're just answering
go ahead
questions in real time. I'm kidding.
Oh, the health effects of World of Warcraft. The health benefits, I think, should be reported more. I think the adverse health effects are quite well reported when it comes to gaming. So, I don't know. Oh, cool. Student of WoW. There you go. Excellent. A college student. There's one of them. Two. Lots of students. It's the best time in life. Good stuff. Awesome. Professional nurse. Cool. Now that's a job. That is quite... Electrician. I want to know, Chabanor. You always need you need an electrician and a plumber in your life. That's the important to know, by the way, guys. Let's see. Oh, the interview for 4 of us? When is that, Affinity? We're doing it on Saturday, right?
Yeah, it's Saturday, April 14th, and I'll tab over to it for a second. At 2 p.m., which is Central Standard Time, GMT minus 6. Let's see. We've got Smasher and Divide there, which that's going to be cool. Yeah. And we're gonna focus a little bit more on the live streaming aspect of gaming. And video
a bit as well, like since you've all made videos and sort of the idea of the visual in raiding, so live streaming, video production, all that sort of thing. So yeah, I think it'll be really cool, and those guys would be fun. So, and Jimmy Russell, I'm absolutely a Morrissey fan. Please don't say I look like Morrissey though, that will make me cry. So And I was going to say too, I just noticed that you have someone who's in dentistry school. You should keep track of that person. They could be handy to you at the point in the future. Finishing, you never know, you might need a dentist. And another PhD student, Salensa, but in chemistry. See, those are people who are doing serious topics. So, what else? PJs, how do you get away with watching WoW streams while you're at work?